Hey Jennifer, since it's October, do you have any good Halloween themed jokes?
Actually, Courtney, I have a pretty good one. Why wouldn't the mom for Liberty let her kids dress up as a zombie for Halloween?
I'm gonna say because it's too graphic.
No, because she was afraid they would identify as zombies and she has no brains to feed them.
Hello, and welcome to our podcast, Moms into Literary Freedom.
Where a couple of moms fight back against groups trying to control what our kids can read.
With each episode focusing on a specific book that has found itself on the chopping block of censorship. Get it? No brains. I had to kind of explain that one to one of my friends when I told them that. But I think it's obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're dumb.
Yeah. And that's the joke. Welcome to Moms into Literary Freedom, the junior episode.
Yay. We haven't recorded in a while. You and I have had busy schedules, conflicting schedules, but it's so good to be back.
Yeah, we meant to do a few titles for Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs until October 15th.
So we still have time.
We still have time. But we wanted to get a junior episode in real quick too. And that it's important for this week because what is so important about this week, Jennifer?
This is Banned Books Week, where we celebrate, or I guess we're not celebrating, right?
No, we're celebrating books, all the cool books.
Yeah, we're celebrating and uplifting all these banned books.
Which are the best books.
Exactly. And we're just trying to, everyone is trying to fight censorship.
Mm-hmm.
So according to American Library Associations, from January 1st to August 31st of this year, 3,923 titles have been targeted for censorship.
Wow, 3,923?
And I'm pretty sure that's up from last year, because last year was in the 2000s, which is still high, plenty high.
Yeah.
And the year's not over yet.
No.
92% of the books challenged were part of attempts to censor multiple titles.
Oh.
And 695 attempts to ban or restrict library materials and services. Now, where do these censorships occur? 220 at the school districts and 208 at public libraries.
Wow, public libraries?
Yes. I hear a lot of people saying oh, it's just at the school, you can get it at the library. No, you guys are going after libraries as well.
Oh no, I hadn't heard that. Wow.
Yeah.
So what is a parent just gets pissed off that there's a book about gay penguins at their local library and raises hell, acts like a Karen, and then the librarian's like, is this worth my job?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, the answer is yes. No, it's not. It's not worth your job. But we do have to fight back, and that's what we're doing. And my heart goes out to all those librarians out there that and media specialists that really see the value of diverse voices.
It's a tough job, a tough position to be in today.
A thankless job.
Yeah, definitely.
And I saw somewhere, and this is no surprise to anyone, that Florida is leading the nation in book bans.
Yep, definitely.
Way to go, Florida.
Florida and I think Texas close behind.
Yeah, and I remember one of our other episodes, it was Texas was ahead of Florida, but not. It's just the race to...
We're neck and neck.
Yeah, to see who can be the poopiest.
Yay, we're winning.
Woohoo. It's the little things in life, right?
A win's a win.
No, I guess. But yeah, I mean, speaking of that, let's talk about, the Georgia teacher that was fired for reading the book that we're actually covering in today's episode, My Shadow is Purple by
Scott Stuart.
And that teacher's name is
Katie Rinderl.
Yeah, that's a good pronunciation. That's
sure.
better than what I was going to say. I was going to say Rinderly.
Oh, that sounds nice, though.
Well, we covered both. So if you're listening, Katie, we appreciate you and we're sorry we butchered your name.
It's our brand for us.
I'm sure she just goes by Mrs. R when she's in the classroom, but unfortunately she's not in the classroom anymore because of this baloney. Oh, sugar.
This is the kid.
All right, I'm editing out all the curse words from now on. Should I?
We didn't even mention it was a junior episode.
I know. I thought it was a junior.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Good.
All right, since this is a junior episode, I'm going to curb my language. But yeah, Katie... maybe she goes by Mrs. R. We're just going to call her Mrs. R. Mrs. R was fired after reading a book about gender norms to her 5th grade class at Cobb County School District in Georgia. And this happened, kind of a while ago, but recently, I guess within the past couple months, the school board voted 4-3 to fire her for reading the book aloud in class.
Yeah, and she has been a teacher for 10 years, well-liked, well-loved, a teacher that was respected for her teaching abilities. Students loved her, administrators loved her. She was held in high esteem.
Mm-hmm.
She's a teacher that literally the district praised her for being one of the reasons they did so well as a district.
Wow.
So she was a great teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fired over reading a book that most parents were in agreement with, they thought the lesson
all it
plan
takes
was
is
great.
one parent. Which, how in the hot dog did we get here?
It's so irritating that one person can affect so much. And why? Mm-hmm. Why do they have this control? I don't get it. Mm-hmm. It's not parental rights.
Southern Poverty Law Center chimed in and, their statement by their attorney, Craig Goodmark, said there's no legitimate explanation in regards to her termination, adding, to fire a teacher under a law that no two people could agree on is wrong, which we see in Florida. Like, the laws in Georgia are different, but this is similar to what we're seeing here in Florida, right, where it's hard to interpret what these laws are saying. The line that we don't know where the lines are drawn, and when it comes to sensitive or controversial or divisive concepts.
And we've said this before, they're purposely vague.
Exactly.
To get teachers and media specialists to censor themselves out of fear.
Yeah.
They're meant to intimidate.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's working because we have all these districts in Florida. So this happened in Georgia, but it's very similar. But we have all these districts in Florida that are taking this vague "don't say gay" law and interpreting it in different ways. For example, what's the county that just pulled all the LGBTQ books off the shelf? Charlotte County.
Charlotte County, yeah.
And that's a pretty big county down in South Florida. And they, had a conversation. This is published, and this is in our show notes. So Charlotte County in Florida actually released this sort of like Q&A document that happened between the state or the school board attorney and the superintendent, and we'll put it in our show notes. But basically, it's like, I'll just read you one question. It's the superintendent is asking the school board attorney questions, and the school board attorney is answering these questions based on what he thinks is the law. So here's one of the questions. Are we removing, this is quote, guys, I can't emphasize enough that I'm just reading this line by like word for word.
It's that bad.
Yeah. Are we removing from any school or media center pre-K to 12 if a character has, for example, 2 mothers, or because there is a gay best friend or a main character is gay? ? The answer is one word from the attorney, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they went on to literally do that. But what's interesting to me is they didn't do it for high school, at least from what I've read. They just did it for elementary and middle, even though the attorney said K-12.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
So this just goes to show that it is up to the school board to interpret these laws. And anytime school boards and districts have reached out to the Department of Education for guidance, they have received little to none.
And that's the tactic. Mm-hmm. Like I keep saying, that is their tactic.
Yep.
To be as vague as possible, to not put anything in writing, mm-hmm. to be very, like, oh, you figure it out. Mm-hmm. And then they know you're going to be scared.
Yep.
And you're going to overcompensate and do more than you need to do.
So that's what Charlotte County did. And other counties, in response to Attorney General Ashley Moody's legal filings, so I'll back up a little bit. You all remember the wonderful book, Antango Makes Three, about the gay penguins. Well, in Escambia County, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, but that district was basically sued for taking that book off the shelves.
Yeah, it was a class action suit from Penn America, All Boys Aren't Blue author, George M. Johnson, thank you. There were several. Mm-hmm. There were a few authors and a parent that was, part of the lawsuit.
And so in response to that lawsuit, here's what Ashley Moody says. The state has consistently maintained before 2 federal courts, 3 including this one, that HB 1557's plain language restricts only classroom instruction and does not even arguably restrict library books. Ashley Moody, Attorney General, wrote that in August in a response to a lawsuit being filed because of or for Antango Makes 3 in Lake County schools. And so because of these filings or her legal notes, counties have put this book back on the shelf.
Okay.
Which I think is great. And I think more counties need to do this. So Lake County School District listened to Moody. And Moody is a Republican, by the way. So let's just throw that out there.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is not a partisan podcast. This is not, about Democrats and Republicans. This is about freedom.
Right.
This is about freedom
real
to read.
Freedom.
Yeah, real freedom, not the Moms for Liberty freedom. There are so many Republican friends that I have that do not agree with this censorship. But anyway, Lake County, put the book back on the shelf, and also Palm Beach County School District changed its book policies after PEN America and other advocacy groups brought attention to Moody's legal filings. So these lawsuits are working, they're helping they're giving school districts more guidance that the Department of Education is not giving them.
It's just such a slow process, though. And meanwhile, books are being censored.
Exactly. And that damage has already been done. If you're a student that is from a LGBTQ family, then the message that your family is wrong has already been sent.
Exactly.
And that trauma is already there, and it cannot be reversed. So.
That's the real problem right there.
Mm-hmm. And, Southern Poverty Law Center, they said that legal advocates say that the law is vague and contradicts the U.S. Constitution. So hopefully we'll start to see more of these class action lawsuits and whatever that address the fact that, this is contradictory to the Constitution.
Yeah, and I see here that also, meanwhile, in PEN America and other groups are urging Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz Jr. and his department
Very important.
to pass guidance onto Florida counties.
Yeah, 67 counties that don't really know what's going on,
And, you mentioned that they say it's up to the school board to decide. But when we go to our school board meetings, they're always saying, well, we get our
guidance from the state.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and like you said earlier, it's a tactic, and it needs to stop. And I mean, we've all been saying this, that DeSantis is doing this to help, catapult himself into the controversy of a presidential election, because we saw how that worked. It did work. Let's see how big of a meatball. Sorry, I keep forgetting this is a junior episode. More on that later.
We'll move on from here.
Let's move on. So Jennifer has some poems that Mrs. R, Katie R, from the Georgia teacher who bravely read this amazing book to her 5th graders. And like Jennifer said, she was an amazing teacher with an amazing lesson plan, right?
Yeah, the book, it's a picture book. It's meant for young kids. 5th grade, more, definitely old enough to read this book. And so after they read the book, she asked them to write a shadow poem about themselves. So we haven't really discussed the book too much and what it's about, but the book is about my shadow is purple, and it talks about pink shadows and blue shadows, and then how this child didn't feel that they fit in either one of those categories. Mm-hmm. And so they finally said, oh, my shadow's purple. Mm-hmm.
And that's what the whole book is about.
And that's what the whole book,
why. Yeah. And the illustrations are pretty. It's a very colorful book, as you would imagine.
And it rhymes really nice. Mm-hmm.
It's not very long.
No, I think it's 3-4 minutes to read. Mm-hmm. So the kids wrote their own poem. And so one of them said, my shadow is white, an underestimated thing. When mixed with colors, it can do amazing things. But left by itself, it's kind of bland.
Wow. That's deep.
For a 5th grader to write that.
I love it. I got the goosebumps.
And then another one wrote, my shadow is purple, and now I do know that everyone's different, and not to be woe. When my heart glows and tells me to see, it's fine to be me.
Oh, the use of the word woe there.
Right?
I mean, come on. That is, heartbreaking, but also so inspiring.
Right.
Of this kid that was literally touched by this book,
And so instead, obviously this great teacher, what do they do to this classroom? They yank her away.
Yep. So, I mean, think about the trauma, that those students endured, maybe even, taking some of that, inaccurately taking some of that blame and thinking that like, oh, maybe it's my fault she got fired.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's not the case, but.
Or this child who also identifies their shadow as purple.
Exactly.
Literally being told that's wrong because your teacher just got fired for
Exactly. That's just such a terrible message to send to any child.
And students, they get really attached to their teachers. My daughter last year, her teacher was there for just a couple of months and then she had to take personal leave. My daughter was like, when is she coming back?
Yeah.
When is she coming back? I miss her.
Yeah.
I love her. I miss her. She's 5th grade.
Especially, that's elementary school. 5th grade is still elementary school. When I worked at an elementary school, I mean, just the relationships that I witnessed and like the hugs, the kids are all about hugging.
Yeah.
We're told not to hug, get the side hug,
Right.
but like, sometimes it's just like the kids, they just want to hug you because it shows that they want to show you how much they trust you.
Yeah.
And how important you are in their lives. So yeah, those poems were awesome. And what did the author have anything to say?
He did. According to the Daily Mail, Stuart, whose book has been banned in several U.S. states, which I haven't been able to figure out which ones, but I mean, Florida obviously is one of them.
Texas, yeah.
He said, this entire thing is disgusting. To be very clear, there is nothing spicy or perverse about this book. It's a book of acceptance and inclusion. We need to be supporting teachers, not vilifying them.
Amen. Well said.
Right. Spot on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the language of the law, at least in Florida, I don't know about Georgia, but does mention those things like
spicy
and perverse.
I mean, the notion that this book is too graphic, and we're saying too graphic because it's a junior episode, but
there are other words
right
that's written in the law. And so that's what is so confusing about books like And Tango Makes Three and My Shadow is Pink and My Shadow is Purple. And
the whole Seahorse book too.
Oh yeah, it's like none of this is graphic, or those things, and so that's where the law doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Or the actions that are being taken because of this so-called law, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and this book in particular doesn't discuss anything that is graphic.
Yeah, so let's just jump into it. I love the poetry of it. Because, when you're reading books to your kids, you get really into, the poetry of it all. Like, at least I do.
No, and it's perfect because kids love that. It's musical. It's musical? Lyrical?
Yeah, lyrical. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Both work. And the illustrations are great. Who illustrated this?
He illustrated it.
Oh, wow.
Written and illustrated by Scott Stewart.
Wow, Scott. You're quite the talented guy.
And if you're on TikTok, follow him.
Okay.
Because he makes stories. Like, someone will write in and be like, oh, can you write a story about a child who lost a parent?
Oh, I love that.
He's talented.
Wow.
So talented.
Yeah. That reminds me of this account I follow on Instagram because I'm not on TikTok, but I'm sure he's on Instagram too. But it's similar. He doesn't do stuff for kids, but I let my kids watch him because he's so funny. He's called Java Doodles. You have to follow him.
Okay.
And so he draws himself as this drink of he's like a Mai Tai, I think. I don't know. He identifies as this fruity drink and he's gay, and so he writes all these animations that come to life, because that's what an animation is. Anyway, Java Doodles, he's hilarious. He has this great one about maxi pads that I used to tell my kids about maxi pads.
Okay.
Because you need to know what a maxi pad is. Because this video is a perfect example. He doesn't know what a maxi pad is, and he thinks he's like, Mom, what is this? And she's like, you put that in your underwear. And he's like, okay. So he put it in his underwear, but then he put it adhesive side up. And so he goes to school, and the teacher and he's like, this is really uncomfortable. So he goes to the bathroom and he tries to take it off.
Oh my God.
And the teacher goes in and sees him. And the whole animation is just hilarious.
And that's funny because I've heard stories similar of actual people doing this, actual kids doing this.
Yeah, because it's just a fun sticky thing. Yeah. It's like a giant sticker. And the adhesive is very strong because it has to stay in place.
Right.
And so I just thought it was hilarious, and my kids thought they didn't know what a maxi pad was until they watched it, and then it was really funny.
We need illustrations like that to explain things to kids. That's why these books are important.
And why should something like a maxi pad be taboo? Like, why should that be like something that you're not allowed to talk about? It's not bad to be a menstruating person.
Right.
Like, menstruation isn't something that we aren't allowed to talk about with our kids, just because they're not menstruating yet, or just because they won't menstruate because they're not, a menstruating person.
And that's why we have a lot of older men, and I'm talking about 20s, 30s.
Toxic.
Yeah. And they don't understand how a woman's body works.
Yes.
Like, they don't understand how periods work. And I'm like, did you learn nothing in school?
Like, if they had a sister, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But the ones without sisters, whew. Anyway, back to the book. So yeah, the illustrations are great. The guy wrote it and illustrated it. He's super talented. I'm going to tell you my favorite part of the book. Because it starts out with just like the boy, which I'm going to use the pronouns they.
Yeah, they don't really specify, but I think it's what I would go with for a purple shadow, right? Maybe?
Yeah, so they notice their mom's shadow is pink, their dad's shadow is purple, and that blue, and that their shadow is not, because they like to do both pink and blue things. And for the listeners out there, when you mix pink and blue together, you get purple. In case you didn't know that. But my favorite part is the page when they say they're talking about, criticisms from other people. And they say, only blue can be strong. But my mom, because it's Australian, right?
Yes.
My mom's strong too. So I think they're wrong. And I love that. Being that, I'm a strong mom. Yes. You're a strong mom. Like, it's important that strength is a quality that our kids see in us.
Correct.
Not in just our, the dads. And then they go on to say, because pink's the most caring, but dad's always crying and loving and sharing. Which, I love so much, because we really do need to normalize crying dads.
Yes. And again, it does the same thing. It shows that dads can be loving and caring, can cry, can show affection. Because a lot of the times we see, the
toxic masculine. Yeah.
Toxic masculine. They can't be kind to their kids. They have to be the rough ones, the tough ones. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not how it works.
So we're going to ban this book because it normalizes men having feelings.
Right. And I think that might be really what got to them too.
Yeah.
The book goes on and it just discusses other things in ways that,
like what's blue and what's pink.
Right.
Like trains are blue, planes are blue.
Glitter and ponies would be more pink. Engines and planes, blue. And he likes all of it. Or they like all of it. So then from there he gets not invited, but there's a school dance happening. In
the school, the flyer in the book, it's like pink and blue.
Yes.
Yeah, which is funny because, it's like it's weird. It's like a dance that is, and we see this all too often.
Yeah.
Father-daughter dance and like the mommy-son game night or whatever. Like, it's clearly pink and blue. Like, why can't it just be called like the parent-kid dance?
Family night.
Or family dance, yeah. Where you bring one of, they can specify, because I guess if you said family dance, they'd have like 10 family
Right,
members.
that's true.
But like you can specify, bring your favorite family member. Wait, that might be bad too. Never mind.
Well, I know that there's options out there. I've seen them. I can't think of one right now. Like grown-ups and...
Ooh, I heard of one.
And donuts?
Yeah, grown-ups and donuts instead of...
the boohoo
dads and donuts, grown-ups and donuts.
It is.
Yeah. And then there's another one like parents and pancakes. But no, that's not good because it's exclusive to parents. Yeah. I like grown-ups and donuts.
Yeah, because grown-ups could be anyone, just the adult in your life, which is something I don't think about, because I don't think that way. Like,
right.
But now that it's been pointed out, I'm like, not everybody, not all children have a mom and a dad in their life.
Well, and there was a statistic, at least for our county here in Flagler, that like the number of grandparents raising the kids is increasing at a rapid pace. So it's a lot of grandparents.
Yes.
So we do really need to be aware of those names, like the mother-daughter dance. Like, can you imagine, like a little girl who, and we're not talking about gender norms now.
Right.
Now we're just talking about a girl who doesn't have a mom, or the father-daughter dance, whatever, a girl who doesn't have a dad, It doesn't have to be daddy-daughter dance.
Right, and they'll say on the forum, like, oh, you can bring any a
Right, but it's
grandfather or
still
friend,
called
but now you still feel like, well, yeah, I wish I could take my dad.
Yeah, you're still the 8-year-old who is aware that their dad at the daddy-daughter dance is going to be an 85-year-old grandpa.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, that's why we need to fix those things.
So, yeah, so the dance is pink and blue, and they get really excited about the dance.
Yes. And you know what I love about this book, too? The dad is so supportive. Equally as involved as the mom is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't see that a lot.
Yeah. The dad doesn't have like a secondary role. Like he's there, right alongside the mom. The mom makes him a skirt. The dad makes him a suit.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is like some high level fashion.
Right.
Because this outfit is adorable.
It is.
On the top, they've got a tuxedo and a purple bow tie. And then the bottom is like this black, purple.
Ball gown type?
Yeah, it's like a black skirt that goes all the way down to the floor. And it's just very much like, doesn't scream boy or girl.
No.
It just screams style.
Yeah. Gender bending.
Yeah. Is that a thing? Gender
I think
bending?
so, right?
Oh.
Like gender bending outfits? No.
I'll have to look it up. I don't
Okay.
know. You're on TikTok. You know all the, I don't know. I don't know the cool things. But anyway, he gets there, and then the teacher, who's not the villain.
No.
But the teacher is just not very, aware of or doesn't seem to care too much. Because the teacher's like, girls on one side, boys on the other.
Right. Blue shadows go left and pink shadows right. Once we're split up, we'll kickstart this night.
It goes on to say, the teacher walks up looking rather amused. I know you are different, but now you must choose. And then the picture is of the cute little kid with the adorable outfit, and their eyes are watering. My heart just starts racing and tears fill my eyes. I know I must choose, but don't understand why. Because you got to remember, too, we're dealing with kids, and they don't understand the stupid rules that adults have made, the stupid societal norms that we must conform to.
And it's such a valid, response a child would have. Why do I have to choose?
Yeah. Yeah. Kids are always asking why. And then I love that it wasn't that, like, the teacher wasn't the hero, the adult wasn't the hero of the story. It was their friends.
Yeah, they were going to leave. Mm-hmm. I'll leave and go home, I quietly say.
Mm-hmm. That was so sad.
I know.
It's like, oh, don't go home.
And then
like on the edge of my seat in this children's picture book. What do they do next?
And here comes another child to the rescue, right? Mm-hmm. My shadow is yellow. My eyes open wide, my shadow it gawks. A child walks to the middle, looks up and talks. There's more than two colors our shadows can be. I was too scared before, but blue is not me. I know from outside blue fits like a glove, but my shadow is yellow, which to me feels like love.
And I love that this part of the book, it's like, we're not talking about boy and girl anymore. We're just talking about personality.
Right.
And like your shadow can be yellow and you can still be a heterosexual cis male, or you could be, something else. Like that's not the point. The point is like you can be who you want to be and not have it, identify your entire like sexual preference if you're in 5th grade.
Yeah.
Like
and
you
that your
don't
gender doesn't put you in a box of what you are. You know? Just because you're a boy doesn't mean you can't be loving, which is what this one kid is saying.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other kids start to say, oh, well, mine's aquamarine. Mine's orange. Mine's red. And then I like the one who identifies with the grizzly bear.
Is that the brown one?
Yeah. I didn't take a picture of that one.
My shadow's as brown as a big grizzly bear. And so they just all come out in different colors. And in the end, the last page, I look at each shadow, no two are the same. On each happy face, there's no trace of shame.
I love it.
Each different and special and fully unique. No colors stronger and no colors weak.
I love that.
How beautiful.
Even brown.
Yeah, even brown.
You know why they had a problem with this? Because they didn't want the kids to identify with grizzly bears.
That must be what it is, yeah. Grizzly bears like to steal your White Claws.
That's right, because they steal the White Claw. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you need to listen to the previous episode. But yeah, that was a great book. It was, super short, but very, very deep.
Right. He says a lot in just a little bit of words.
Yeah.
Perfectly for any kid to understand. Mm-hmm. And you could see the results in what those other kids in that classroom wrote.
Oh my gosh, the poems.
Right.
Yes.
Like, clearly the book has a good message. It was received well by the children. It inspired them to write about their own shadows.
But writing is for the devil.
That's true. Yeah.
Just kidding, kids. It's not. Especially poetry. Anytime when I was, I'm a curriculum writer. So anytime I can infuse poetry or writing, because, kids are amazing little poets. They're probably better than most adults because they're not, their creativity hasn't been, like stepped on. Yeah.
Stifled?
Yeah. Stifled, stepped on, whatever. Like they're free to be themselves. At least that's the hope.
Right.
And that's what this book is trying to say. And, lawsuits like the one that happened in Georgia are just, the complete opposite of that.
Yeah. And this is why Banned Book Week
is so important.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, that was My Shadow is Purple
by Scott Stuart.
He also has a book, My Shadow is Pink, which is before this one. Does he
Yeah.
have any, like, My Shadow is Blue? I feel like I saw another one.
He's got several books out. My Shadow is Pink was his first one, I think. And he wrote that one because of his son or child who was dealing with gender identity issues.
Okay.
And so that was to help his child. And then he did My Shadow is Purple. He's got one about kind of like about what makes a man.
Oh.
And so I think it discusses more like toxic masculinity versus just...
Is that for children?
Yeah, all children's book.
What's
I
it
haven't
called?
read that one yet, but I want to. How to Be a Real Man by Scott Stewart. It encourages boys to embrace who they truly are in this empowering and funny story, smashing age-old assumptions about what it means to be a man.
I love that.
I know, I'm dying to buy it.
Oh, wait, it's called How to Be a Man?
How to Be a Man.
Okay, I'll link that in our show notes. I'll link all 3 of those books by him in our show notes.
Yeah, he's got a few books out, and all of them look lovely.
Okay.
And My Shadow is Pink, which is his first book, is being turned into a
TV show,
Yes.
but an Australian TV show.
Yeah, and
so
I
we're
think
going to have
Canada.
to be really creative on how we're going to watch that.
I know, because it looks like it'll be, I imagine it'll be good.
Yeah. So what's our next book?
Next, we're going to be discussing Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez, and hopefully we'll get it out before October 15th in time for Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah, we'll work really hard to do that.
Yeah, and this book takes place in the late 1930s. It's a historical fiction book.
My favorite kinds of books.
I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction books.
I love them.
But it seems like a good story.
Yeah.
So it has to do with the New London school explosion. And it's kind of a retelling of Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that.
Forbidden love.
Yes.
Yeah, and I do know that the New London school explosion was a real event, devastating event that occurred in the East Texas oil town in 1937. So it's a story based around that
Yes.
real event. Yeah, I really do love historical fiction. It's like a very interesting way to learn about like historical things when you have those really cool characters to follow the story with. So I'm excited about this one.
I will say, like I said, I've never really been into it. I've never really read any of them. But because of banned books, I've had to read a few. And they're not bad books. They're good. And I do learn things that I didn't know. So I think that's really important.
And the character is she Mexican? The main character, is she Mexican?
Yes, she's a Mexican character, and the Romeo in this scenario is black.
Okay.
And they're in a white town.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that definitely complicates things, especially if you're in 1937.
Right.
And it does start out at the beginning with the explosion, so no spoilers.
Yeah, there's no spoiler there.
Yeah.
That's like first page.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. That concludes this junior episode, and be on the lookout for that next full-length, not junior episode. And remember, don't ban books.
Ban bigots.
Okay.
Did I say bigots?
No, that's good.
This episode has been engineered and mixed by your hosts, Jennifer Mendoza and Courtney Green.
Be sure to follow our show on Twitter at Moms for Book Lib and Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Moms for Book Liberty with the number 4.
And leave us a review on Amazon Music or Apple Podcasts, or you can rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.